one of the fears of the Lord that the Bible refers to is the more common one is like literally be in awe of the Lord, like in awe of his power. It's almost like, so I think it's in one country I know does this, but like their sons, whenever they approach their father, they literally like kneel down as like a sense of like power to their father, because of just like how not almighty, but how like reverence he is to the family. So it's in that same sense. It's like to be in fear of the Lord is to literally just be in awe of that. But there's also the fear of the Lord that is kind of outside of those who believe, and it's literally to like be in fear of like God, because the truth is that God is an all-powerful being. Like he literally has, I just voice cracked, he literally has the power to strike us down at any point. In his grace and his mercy chooses not to. I mean, that's the whole story of the gospel, right? But there is a powerful characteristic to God that we should be in fear of. And I think that fear sometimes can really lead to life, like to be in fear of God. That can sometimes lead people to want to, sorry, I'm mesmerized by this right now. Want to be in relationship with the Lord, you know?
Yeah. So my first reaction to all of that, as soon as you said that, I was just looking at this fire while you were talking, and looking at us trying to put this fire together. We've done this how many weeks in a row now, and we still don't know how to start a fire.
Literally wanting to start.
Yeah. There's people that live in the wilderness and can start one with rocks and strip wood, and we have literal dried wood and a gas lighter. We can't start a fire.
All in one spot.
Is it? Did you put it on the side over there? It'll take some time. Yeah, I think it'll start lighting soon.
Yeah, give it that.
Oh, get him out of here.
But yeah, I think what I was going to say, that I've always been really intrigued by the concept of the fear of the Lord, and quite honestly, like it, for a lot of years, really rubbed me wrong, and I always felt like I was never studious enough to go in and really learn all the original translations and the original Hebrew.
There's a lot of
like
theology
and diving, and I know there's a rich theology behind all of that, and someday I probably will dive into it more in depth. But I always felt like maybe I was suspicious about the translations of the Bible that I was reading for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I would see words like fear, and I was always suspicious that was being used in a very particular way to influence people a certain way. And I think words carry a lot of weight, and words also change throughout time, and the way that we understand words now is very different than the way people that were writing these texts understood words culturally. And so it is important to understand the background of these words and what they meant to those people, so that you can kind of translate not just the words themselves, but the understanding of them, the meaning of them, to the way that we understand language now. But that word fear always struck me as an important one. And I didn't like it because I always felt like, is God love? Why would I be afraid? The funny thing is, actually finding love in other places of my life taught me exactly what that means. And again, like that's what God does. He reveals himself in our experiences. And you start to realize that, oh my gosh, yes, actually love and fear are very close friends. Because fear is not always that kind of fear you talked about, where it's, I'm scared you're going to harm me or hurt me. It's not that kind of fear. It's a reverence. It's a respect. And looking at this fire, the reason I brought that up is, you and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I said, from my perspective, kind of when I'm listening to the shows and the interviews we've done so far, it really comes down to whoever we're talking to. It's like, we're really asking at the end of the day what Jesus asked the disciples, like, who do you say I am?
Yeah.
And a fire is a lot like God, when you think about it in these terms, because a fire can consume and devour and destroy. But then also, if you respect the fire, if you put it in a controlled place and you treat it with the reverence and respect that it deserves, and a fire is being used as something that is going to edify your life, that you can cook food over, that you can commune over, you can speak around one, like all of a sudden this same thing, this thing that can cause pain, suffering, and devouring, becomes a beautiful place to meet. It becomes a beautiful
Interesting.
utility to cook food over. Like, and so really who God is to you is what he'll be to you. And so when you think of God as this all-consuming, devouring, like you said, people that don't know the Lord, that might have this suspicion that if there is a God, he must not like me because look at my life. He must hate me. That's who God is to you when you think of him that way. And that fire is everywhere. It's all around you, and it's all consuming, and it's terrifying, and it's frightening because it can burn you. It can hurt you. But then when you start to see the Lord as, loving, kind, compassionate, patient, then you have a fire like this one, where we sit around it and it brings us together. And I really do think the Lord is a lot like that. It's like when you have that respect and that reverent, that kind of fear for him, then he becomes something that edifies you instead of terrifies you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where fear is misunderstood a lot of times when people read about the fear of the Lord. Certainly for me, that's been my experience.
Hey guys, if you liked that video, I think you'll really like this video right here. My floating finger. Make sure to check out this video, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to do that as well. We'll see you in the next video.